SCDI land parcels, there's the linear connections and the Angra Point. So SCDI is the national park. That is all the infrastructure that we will be putting there at the national park. Angra Point port facility is here in Lüderitz. So when the curtains were open, you would have seen that mountainous area in front of us, right? So that is where the Angra Point facility will be, and these are all the infrastructure that will be put at that particular location. And then the linear connections is anything between Lüderitz or Angra Point and the national park. So all the pipelines that will be transporting the water, the hydrogen, as well as the transmission network. So this is a vertically integrated project, so meaning all the infrastructure that we are building will be used entirely for the project. We do not depend or need any other entity to put up infrastructure for us to operate. So for example, we don't need Namport, for example, to put up a port because we are going to put up our own. We don't need Nampower to build the required electrical infrastructure because we are going to put up our own. So we are entirely independent from any other third party. So what are we going to do? We are essentially going to generate the electricity. It's about 6 to 8 gigawatts of electricity. That electricity will be used to obviously electrolyze the water. So we're going to put up a desalination plant here in Lüderitz, transport or pipe that water to the park, where we will then electrolyze that water. So essentially what will happen is we are going to put an electric current through the water, and that electric current will force the hydrogen and the oxygen atoms to split. And we will then capture that hydrogen and then pipe that hydrogen back to Lüderitz, where it will go through a synthesis process, essentially taking nitrogen from the air, mixing it with that hydrogen, and then it will create ammonia. That ammonia will be stored, and then we'll put a multi-bowing system, which is essentially a port infrastructure, where we'll then dispatch or export that ammonia to the different markets. So we anticipate this project to cost more or less 10 billion US dollars. These are estimates. Of course, depending on the final designs, the numbers might change. So in Namibian terms, it's about 200 billion Namibian dollars to build out this project. But if you would have heard that Tashimi, when he tabled his budget, he tabled the budget of plus minus 100 billion. So this project is going to cost almost 2 times our national budget. So where are we? So we signed the agreement, the feasibility and implementation agreement with government last year in May. And the next step was to move to the effective, the contract becoming effective. That was 6 months. We are not in the effective period yet. There are a number of de-risking that needs to happen from both government and hyphen side, but we anticipate within the next month or two, the contract should become effective. What that means is that we will have 2 years to do the feasibility study. That is to do all the technical designs, do the fundraising, do the environmental studies. And after that 2 years, government signs off on that feasibility report. We will then move into construction, hopefully in 2026. That construction will happen for 4 years, but within the first 2 years, we already anticipate to build the first phase of the project so that we are already able to export. And then once in the remaining 2 years, we want to develop the full scale of the project and then move to full operations in 2030. So at the moment, we are doing a number of pre-feasibility activities. We are now in the process of getting the EPC contractors on board. We have launched a tender last year. We've received a number of bids. We have started to shortlist those EPC contractors, and we are going to give them the request for proposal or request for quotation around May for them to give us their technical and financial proposals. We are also launching the environmental impact assessment in April or May this year. This is going to look at the full environmental impact of the project, right? That includes the national park, but also the infrastructure that we're going to put up here at Angra Point. As indicated, the project is split into 2 phases. Phase 1 will be from 2026 up until 2028. Phase 2 will be from 2028 up until 2030, where the project is expected to become online at full capacity. So this slide really just talks to some of the socioeconomic indicators that we have provided as Hyphen during the procurement process. So when government launched that tender, they had um, a number of sections where they asked bidders to submit their proposals. So they had a technical section which they asked bidders to provide what their technical solution would be. They also had a financial section which indicated what would be the financial benefit that government would receive from your proposal, and they also had a socio-economic or social impact criteria where they asked bidders to provide some initiatives that they will want to achieve as part of their socio-economic objectives. So as part of this social impact criteria, there were two key sub-criteria. One was on the fiscal contributions, and the other one was on the socio-economic contributions. So many times you might have heard that, or people might say, no, government is not benefiting from this project. So government during the bidding process asked all the bidders what will their contributions be from a fiscal point of view. And Hyphen, as part of their bid, said that government obviously we are going to pay government a lease fee because we are using the national park. So we're going to rent or lease the national park from government. And at different stages, we are going to pay government different rates of lease fees. So when we move to feasibility study in the next 2 years, we are going to pay government almost 6 million euros per annum. That is about $120 million per year that we are going to pay government for those 2 years. And then when we move to construction, we're going to pay government 8 million euros. That is about 160 million Namibian dollars every year for those 4 years, and it increases at 2%. And then when operation starts for the remaining of the concession period, we're going to pay government 12 million euros. So that is about $240 million per year, just because we are using the land, just because we are renting. Yeah. We also then agreed that we're going to pay government royalties. So for every kilogram of ammonia that we sell, government is going to get a percentage of that. And of course, we're going to pay government corporate tax. And then government obviously is, because they are now a shareholder, they will also receive dividends. So if you look at this fiscal framework or fiscal regime, government is taking over 50% of the revenue that Hyphen will be making from this project. So that, we believe, is a win-win situation, isn't it? It's a fair deal that we've provided to government. In addition to that, we've also said that we are going to make certain contributions as far as jobs are concerned and the opportunities that we want to give to Namibian companies to benefit. And what are those numbers? So as part of that socioeconomic criteria, we said that during the construction period, we will aim to commit, or at least we will aim to produce about 15,000 jobs during the construction period. We will create around 3,000 jobs, so 1,400 for the first phase and another 1,400 for the second phase, so that's 3,000 jobs during the operation period. We have committed that 90% of those jobs, both the 15,000 and the 3,000, should be Namibian. And then of that 90%, 20% minimum should be youth. It can be more. Yeah, it can be more. The young ones, please. And then from the procurement side, we said that out of the plus minus 200 billion that we're going to spend on the project, we want to at least aim to spend 60 billion of that, or at least 30%, on local companies. So we want to identify Namibian companies, local entities who can provide certain goods and services for this particular project. So this is what Hyphen has committed during the request for proposal stage. So when Hyphen was successful, obviously we went through a negotiation phase with government, and we have agreed to add additional elements as part of the final agreement. Because we said employment creation cannot happen without developing the skills to make sure that they are ready to take up those opportunities. So in addition to employment creation, we said we'll put in place a skills development program that allows us to build the capacity that we need for the project. The same will happen on the local procurement side. We said we'll also implement an enterprise and supplier development program, because we need to identify the companies, help prepare them and build their capacity to make sure that they are ready to provide the services and the goods that they are expected to provide during the project. And then the supplementary infrastructure is an additional element that we've also negotiated, and this speaks primarily to supporting the towns of Luderitz and Aus to make sure that these towns are ready to take up the massive influx of opportunities that are coming to the towns. So Hyphen has committed to provide technical support to the towns of Luderitz and Aus to start planning for the physical infrastructure, but also to undergo a town transformation program. Because if you anticipate Hyphen, oil and gas, and all these other industries that are coming to Luderitz, the towns needs to be ready in terms of their capacity to be able to plan and prepare for these influx of investment. And then we've also agreed on a corporate social investment element. So Hyphen has agreed that we're going to undertake some initiatives as part of a corporate social investment plan to make sure that we try and support the vulnerable groups as part of our strategy. And then, of course, the last element really talks to how do we report, execute, and monitor the various initiatives that we are going to implement as Hyphen. Again, this is just a repetition of some of the elements. So we said we're going to create those jobs. What we're going to do now is Hyphen, so these were targets. We now have to move from targets to actual commitments. In order to move to those commitments, we are going to undertake a number of baseline studies on the skills and the local procurement side. So what we've said is we've already hired some consultants to help us understand from an employment perspective what are sort of the job opportunities that will be available across the different infrastructure components of the project. Do we need artisans, welders, plumbers, electricians? How many do we need? Where do we need them? What experience should they have? What qualification and competencies should they have? We'll also undergo a national skills audit where we want to understand, do we have the skills, qualification, and experience in Namibia that we would require for the project? So we want to understand the demand from the project as well as what supply of skills and labor can Namibia provide, and then understand if there's a gap, and then develop a skills development strategy to help us plug or at least address those gaps that we've identified. The same will happen more or less as far as the local procurement side. So we want to understand what the value chain opportunities are for the project, understand do we have those capacities in Namibia, who are those entities, and what kind of support do they need. So once we've undertaken that process, we will then agree with government on what the final commitments are as far as the skills and local procurement targets are for this particular project. Again, this is really just a repetition of some of those elements. But the idea here is that we want to make sure that this project has, from a socioeconomic perspective, we want to make sure that this project has maximum impact on Namibians and Namibian institutions during the construction and during the operation. And we're looking forward to engaging various stakeholders to make sure that we collaborate and co-create some of the solutions that we anticipate. This slide really just tries to outline that there is alignment to the SED elements with the various national development plans, in particular the Harambee Prosperity Plan 2. That really is the last slide, but I think the departing message here is to say that we have already identified a few areas where we think we can collaborate with local authorities. And because the project is implemented in the south, we have identified Luderitz Town Council and Aus as the key primary stakeholders, right? Or town councils who we need to support, who we need to collaborate with in order to make sure that not only are they ready, but there's also ways in which they can benefit from these large infrastructure programs that are coming to their jurisdictions. So we've been engaging with the towns already, providing them with required support, and we will continue to provide that support and work together with them. Thank you very much, Madam Director.
Thank you so much, Master Shipepe. Can we please give him another round of applause? Very well articulated presentation, insightful. We now have the information in terms of what is Hyphen's focused in terms of the green hydrogen, what is the intake of Luderitz and Aus. At least the two are really going to benefit, and we are grateful for that. So now it will be time for questions or comments. And as usual, we start on the one side and we end on the other one. We are starting on this side. And I'm humbly requesting you, I do not want to hear statements that are long. I'm going to cut you. So let's be straight to the point and then we move on. Can we have the roaming mic, please? Roaming mic? Are we in short supply today? Yes, let's start here.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Indaba Mvoneno, Katima Mlilo Town Council. Well, Mr. Chipepe, thank you for the clear presentation. We're happy that at least the golden egg is in Namibia. So let me get to the point. Yeah, you basically touched on the issue of macroeconomic, I think, resilience. Such as the impact of a road network, maybe health care, and then education. Now, tell us, how do you think, or what are your plans in regarding the direct benefits for local authorities, for all local authorities, for example? How are they gonna actually benefit to this project, or from this project? The number two, the issue of policies. How far have you gone with the policies, actually? Because, now it's a story, but do you have some policies which are already now formulated policies, so that at least we would like to know what's happening? Sometimes in Namibia we are taken for a ride. We are just told things, and then later on it doesn't work. Or maybe the information is not really that clear. We would love actually to know. And then on the other point, on the, let's say, local economic growth and employment creation, I'm happy to hear that at least 15,000 jobs is guaranteed. But then I just wanted to know that, don't you have a program, or maybe some thinking that you're gonna tally with the vocational centers? Vocational centers in Namibia, to see how you're gonna get those youngsters, or maybe graduates from local, from VTC who are roaming around in the street, to see how you can bring them in. The absorption plan which you have, and then okay, the direct benefit, I've already touched it. Okay, on the your social what? The social responsibility. Are you targeting all the local authorities? You're gonna target all the local authorities, or you just gonna target these close local authorities? Yes, I understand at the hostage, as it's happening nearby, we need these local authorities which are close needs to be empowered. You need to pump in more funds, actually, so that at least it boosts their economies. So I think I would just love to advise you to say that, okay, please don't forget other struggling local authorities. So go around, do a research, stay close to economists who are in other local authorities. We'd love to engage you, actually. I'm also an economist, so when you were presenting, actually, I was drooling. I'm so happy that at least you are very much factual and then to the point, and would love really to work with you. We would love to work with you, because what you give to the government, actually, government have to feed many kids, that will be divided, actually. But then now, directly from you, at least if you can come up with memorandum of understanding with other local authorities which are struggling. We are not on par. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we have the next person or somewhere on top there? Is it Master Herrero?
Yes, thank you, Director of Proceedings. Good morning, everyone. I believe everyone has a wonderful evening that was. So my question is already taken. It's about the youth, how to make sure that they are on the board to take part in the project. Thank you.
We shouldn't repeat questions. Honorable members, colleagues, if a question is asked, don't bother to ask anymore. Let's just say things that are not said, please.
I did not ask, I just said it was already mentioned.
Still, we want to keep time, please.
Yeah, thanks very much. Mine is basically on the issue of local procurement. When the presenter spoke, he basically made a reference to ours and Lutheran as the only local authorities that should sort of directly benefit in terms of local procurement. And I was asking myself, some of us are also from the Hartap and Karas also, and what about those local authorities, especially around us in Maldaohe, Kalkran, and up to Riepov. So I was thinking this procurement of this hyphen will be quite complex. And for a small local authority like us now to sort of now have a direct sort of impact in terms of how to also influence the procurement would be a problem for us. And I was thinking, as you also presented, what would be the role of Alan to also help us as the small local authorities to also influence also the procurement function of hyphen for us to at least be able to also, because I foresee already that as much as we are small, there are other sort of established private players, like the Colemans and the Super Shans in Marinda. For instance, if you guys maybe perhaps now need maybe sand and gravel during the construction phase, some of us are also endowed with these resources, but we don't have those sort of financial resources to sort of bring the goods to Lutherans to the site where the construction is now taking place. So my question is, how would Ivan and how would Alan work together? Because in the first state, the person also mentioned that we must sort of now develop or try to sort of grow the development fund through maybe getting rights or through fishing and so on. But then I was thinking also that even this hyphen is a golden opportunity for us to also build also the fund of Alan. So the question, how would Alan also help us to also negotiate, also to bargain for us as the smaller local authorities to also be equal partners, same as the private players in the market? That's my question.
Thank you. Are we done on this side? Any other question, perhaps? Okay, we move on.
Yeah, a very good morning to you all. Thank you very much, Mr. Shipepe, for an insightful presentation. I think I stand to appreciate the investment that we have done, not only benefiting the people of Lutret or Hartap, but I think it's a benefit to the Namibian nation. As much as I appreciate your presentation, ammonia as a gas or in a liquid form is very toxic. It's a highly corrosive liquid, but I've not heard of any preventative environmental strategies that is derived from your environmental impact assessment so that we can safeguard the environment. That's one. Two, I needed also further to have a better understanding in the synthesis chemistry of the extraction of hydrogen from H2O and the absorption of nitrogen from the atmosphere. I think I needed to have more explanation around how synthetically do you absorb nitrogen from the air and you mix it with this hydrogen that you also take away from water. Finally, I think the hydrogen concept in Namibia is a new concept, and the studies have proven that no preparation have been put in place in terms of preparing our young people to take up these opportunities in hydrogen industry. What is there that you, from your side, deliberately put in place to ensure that you accommodate young people into studies that will speak to this new concept of hydrogen in Namibia. Thank you very much.
Okay, any other person on this side?
Yeah, I understand mainly green hydrogen will be exported. My question is whether there is any percentage for local consumption.
Thank you. Do we have another question perhaps on this side? On top.
Penda Alwendo from Rakana. I would like to know if, well, let me start like this. Electricity is one of the commodity that is really eating in the pockets of ordinary Namibians. It's very expensive. With the green hydrogen, if we happen to produce or to generate excess electricity, are you bringing ECB on board as a regulator to make sure that the non-power and the rates and the others are reducing their electricity tariffs? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. It seems we don't have any other questions this side. And we know the rules. If we move, we don't come back. So, Master Shipepe, we are going to start with the responses, starting from the first one, and then we continue again.
Thank you. Thank you for those questions. I think on the first one, you mentioned the roads, education, all the social programs that should be part of this project. So, under one of the elements we identified supplementary infrastructure, and within that, one of our consultants is helping the towns of Luderitz and us in particular with the town transformation program. Now that doesn't only look at sort of the physical infrastructure, but also the non-physical ones, right? The social fiber of the town. Because you need to understand from a social perspective, what impact does this project have, and what should not only the towns of Luderitz and us do, but also other government stakeholders. Ministry of Health needs to come on board to ensure that the health facility or the health systems are operating optimally. Ministry of Education, Roads Authority, Road Fund, Administration, all the other public service providers needs to be brought on board. So this town transformation program helps bring together all these stakeholders to try and identify what the potential risks may be and how each and every government entity can already put in strategies to try and mitigate those risks now but also in the future. So it is a very inclusive program that we are trying to support the towns of Luderitz and Aus on. And then the question on the direct benefit, again, I think the two local authorities obviously that will benefit directly from the project as a result of the employment and the opportunities Luderitz and Aus, right? Other local authorities will benefit directly through government, isn't it? Because government is getting a lot of money and government will be in a position to also allocate larger budgets, hopefully, to the various local authorities. But again, it ties sort of into the question of the corporate social responsibility. How is there a potential for local authorities to benefit from this? Maybe. We have not developed our CSI framework yet. It's not in place, right? Because we are now at the very early stages of the project. So once we finalize the feasibility study process, we anticipate that this CSI framework would be in place. But this framework will be developed in a manner which aligns to our principles as hyphen. And it's not necessarily location-based. It's not based on which local authority is where. It will be based on programs and initiatives that we think aligns to some of the core values and principles of hyphen. So maybe there is an opportunity for us to collaborate with local authorities. Maybe there's an opportunity to collaborate with NGOs, community-based organizations. I can't say at this point because it's not defined yet. But I would say, yes, there is a potential that we can engage and work with local authorities on certain initiatives. Then the question on the policies. So Hyphen, unfortunately, is not the government entity, right? Hyphen is a private entity that was selected to develop a green hydrogen project. So there is a green hydrogen program in place, which is headed by the Green Hydrogen Commissioner, James Newbe. And they are tasked to look at sort of the policy, legislative, and regulatory environment for the green hydrogen industry. So you might have seen that there was a green hydrogen strategy that was launched, I think, early last year. And there it talks to a number of programs and initiatives that government is planning to look at from a policy perspective to address some of the issues within the industry. I know that there are plans to look at regulation for the industry. There are plans to look at various policies for the industry as well. But as Hyphen, we are a private sector player, so whichever policy and regulation that will be implemented, we will have to comply with those policies and regulatory frameworks. Will we collaborate with VTCs? Most likely, yes. So as part of the skills development strategy, so I did mention that we want to understand first what are the type of jobs that will be needed for the project, and then we need to develop a skills development strategy, and that needs to be done in collaboration with institutions of higher learning, TVETs, the Ministry of Higher Education, because if we are to say we need 1,000 electricians with NQF level 5, we need to be able to work with the VTCs, we need to be able to work with Ministry of Higher Education, NTA, to understand how we can put in place these programs. And maybe it's a question of upgrading or upskilling, or at least upgrading the modules, the courses, the curriculums of different institutions. That needs to happen. So yes, there will be some interventions where we have to work with institutions of higher learning, and in particular, VTCs. I think the question of MOUs with allies is already addressed. The local procurement to local authorities. So the local procurement that we are talking about here is not particular to local authorities. So we are saying 30% of the investment will be sourced from local companies, meaning Namibia. Companies within Namibia, where there's Namibian companies, local entities. So we have to develop that strategy. So it might not be limited to Luderitz and Aus. In fact, it will not be limited to Luderitz and Aus, because already we can see that the capacity is not necessarily there in Luderitz and Aus to provide all the services and goods, right? Because certain companies are located in Windhoek, Swakop, and wherever the case may be. So as Hyphen, we need to understand first what are these opportunities that we can create for local entities. Then we need to go through a process of identifying those local entities, and of course help build their capacity so that they're able to deliver on some of these programs. The question on ammonia and the environmental impacts. So we are going to launch the environmental impact assessment in May this year, and that is to look at obviously the environmental impact that the project will most likely have on the environment. That is both here at Angra Point in Luderitz as well as at the park. And we have to understand how we can mitigate those environmental impacts. So there's no strategy yet because we haven't undergone that process of undertaking the environmental impact assessment. But I think the projects of this nature, or at least ammonia plants, is something that has been done globally. There are various international standards and policies in place, and I think Hyphen would be a responsible corporate citizen to make sure that we comply to those best practices, but also any local policy or regulation or standard that will be in place to make sure that we operate in a very safe environment. And then you asked the question on how the ammonia is created. I did very bad at science, physical science at school. So I'll be failing in my duty if I have to explain that to you technically, but broadly what essentially happens is once the hydrogen is produced, right, that hydrogen is piped here to Luderitz. The nitrogen is taken from the air through a process called an air separation unit. So there is technology in place that allows one to take out nitrogen particles from the air, separate them, and that allows us to then mix that nitrogen with the hydrogen through a process called ammonia synthesis, right? that technology exists, and then we then, of course, create the nitrogen, and that allows us to then store that nitrogen here in Lüderitz and hopefully then export it. So the technology is there. Broadly, I'm just explaining the process, but if I have to go into the science of it, I might be misleading you. And then there was a question on how should we accommodate the young people. Yes, so as indicated that we at least want to make sure that 20% of that 90% will be the youth, whether it's a retired youth, senior youth. So we have to undertake a number of strategies to ensure how do we identify the youth groups and make sure that they benefit from this project. So that is a priority for us. So as part of the skills development program, we want to make sure that the youth in particular is identified to take up some of the opportunities that will be created as far as the jobs are concerned. I think you also highlighted on what programs we are having as Hyphen to make sure that the youth benefit. I think there's a number of programs that not only Hyphen is looking at, but government in general is looking at. So you might have seen government through the various scholarship programs has awarded, I think, over 160 scholarships thus far to youth. And a number of these youth were in VTCs and some were in institutions of higher learning doing their masters and PhD. So there are already programs ongoing that government is looking at to make sure that the youth is given that opportunity to academically improve themselves in preparation for this market and these opportunities that can emanate from this particular industry. And of course, Hyphen will be looking at a number of different initiatives to ensure that we try to identify youth to also undergo through some programs to make sure that they are ready for the project when construction and operation starts. Then there was a question on the local consumption of ammonia. So unfortunately, Hyphen obviously is an export project, and we have identified different markets where we're going to export our project, but government, as part of its green hydrogen strategy, has identified other projects where we want to pilot and test the local use of green hydrogen and ammonia. So you might be aware of the Daurus project in the Erongo region. So they are producing green hydrogen and they're producing ammonia, and that ammonia will be used to also produce fertilizers, for example. And the idea there is to test how these products can be used locally so that you can then create a local market in Namibia and also potentially export to other markets. So government has identified 2 or 3 pilot projects, and the aim of those pilot projects is really to test and understand local use of hydrogen and ammonia, whereas Hyphen was developed mainly for the purposes of export to international market. And then the last question on the involvement of ECB as far as electricity is concerned. So yes, in the programming of our project, we believe that we are able to produce excess water and excess electricity, yes? And we are saying that we are able to supply NamPower in particular with electricity that we can generate from the project. However, NamPower needs to make sure that they are in a position to take up this electricity, of course putting in the necessary infrastructure, but also making sure from a regulatory point of view that they are compliant to take up this electricity, and make sure obviously that they make sure the tariffs are competitive in a sense to supply, whether it's to local markets or to international markets. So ECB will have to be involved, NamPower will have to be involved, but we are saying that is not our priority. We can put up the infrastructure to provide the electricity, but then NamPower and ECB needs to come on board if they want to take up that electricity to supply, whether it's locally or to export. The same applies to NamWater. I think those were all the questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the responses. We are continuing with the questions. We are now on this block. Any question? Where is the mic? Here? The gentleman, no, that there? There. Gentleman with the black shirt. Yes. Do we have any other on this side? And then we come down here. And then, yes, we'll come. We first exhaust this side. So in principle, we have about 15 minutes Whether it's now asking questions, whether it's the responses from Mr. Shipepe. Let's keep that one in mind.
Thank you very much, Madam Director. One begins to be excited for hyphen, of course, looking at the impacts and the benefits that the country gets. But then one worries also on the other side, knowing that Namibia imports more than 60% of the power that we use. Now, somebody outside there may laugh at us that we are beginning to import, or to export, sorry, green energy. But then we are importing this so much for our own consumption. Perhaps my question doesn't come necessarily there, but then again, your slides indicated that the full capacity will begin by 2030, 2031. Perhaps what is not coming out for me in particular is to the lifespan. What are we looking at as a country? Is it as long as the wind blows, the sun is there, maybe just indicate that to take us in confidence. Secondly, you've indicated that you have engaged local authority, in particular Luderitz and House. But then mine perhaps indicate what discussions are there with the higher institutions, NAST being here in Luderitz, as well as the UNAM Southern Campus, so that the absorption of the graduates is on par as to when the program begins. Thank you.
We come down here to the lady here.
Thank you. Mine will just be a contribution. Sorry for my accent. It's something inside which I cannot explain. But to hyphen, for exporting reasons, there is a shortcut to reach Botswana, and it's through Aranos Trans-Kalahari Highway. Please make use of it. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable, let's continue.
Thank you. I've looked at the presentation, and the presentation has been tailored for Luderitz area. Why am I saying this? You have a similar project that are currently running in Downres. Now, when we take Luderitz Ngaminyu's constituency, it has got almost all the infrastructure. Now, Downres is completely rural. There is no infrastructure, so to say. When you look at the roads, electricity, and the rest. Now, the amounts, the money that you have just mentioned here, the billions, you know, when a company comes to invest in your town or your region, and when that particular company mentioned the amounts and the billions that you are mentioning, the expectation from the community of the people in that area is becoming very high. Not like me investing in a tuck shop. Now, Downres constituency is faced with many challenges. There is the drought, the water, and those communities around there. They are the farming communities. And as I've said, it's a rural community. Your presentation here was tailor-made for the local authorities. So in Downres, there is no local authorities. It's only traditional authorities. Now, how will green hydrogen address those challenges? Obviously, they will expect from you to construct roads, because there is only gravel roads in Downres. And when you have to transport your products
you need proper roads, you need proper infrastructure. Now, how is green hydrogen going to assist those communities? I'm referring to challenges that they are facing, like water, road infrastructure, electricity, just to mention but a few. If you look at the Lutherans in the area where your production will take place, it is already enough infrastructure, well maintained. Now, comparing to Taures. Now, my question is, what will be the social responsibility of your institution towards the inhabitants of Taures? Thank you.
Okay, we move there to the corner before we go up. Are we not having any other question down here? Okay.
Good morning. Thank you for the floor. My name is Kumba Ambrosius from Divundu. During the presentation, I picked up that we have benefit that comes from this hyphen, and the percentage allocated to Namibia, my motherland, my country, is 26%. Now, all of us knows the history of slavery, colonialism, and so on. But now, when we come back to this development that is from my land, my country, and I get such percentage as benefit, I ask that where does the 74% goes? How do we come there? Because to me, I see it is a U-turn as an element of neo-colonialism. So I want to hear more about the legislative framework on how we come in the story of shareholding and who own what. That is it. You get my question? Thank you.
Yes, the question is clear, Honorable. Let's move on.
A very good morning to everybody. My name is Junior Nema Mutaleni, Vice Chairperson of Ngami News Constituency Youth Forum and Chairperson of Taurus Region Afrian. On behalf of my youth, we would like to know, after the process is been done, you are versed, and later on, after 10 years or 20 years to come, what will happen to that area where you'll be busy with in the sea? Because now as you're talking, there is natural resources there. And our local people also, some of them, they have to benefit from that area. So after done, when you are done, what will happen to that area? And the last one, we are great that job opportunity will be created. And as you mentioned that youth will be like kind of like number one to be getting more job opportunity. Can you just give us a specific, what type of job like that you are going to give mostly to the youth? Thank you very much.
Good morning, honorable councillors and the director of ceremonies, Mr. Shipepe. I think when you answered the first group of questions, you had highlighted that certain areas are priority to hyphen, for example, in terms of local entities, strategies that you still need to look at, skills program strategies. what was also not mentioned is, and I think what is very important is that when the green hydrogen project came upon, there was a lot of distrust. And this distrust is coming because our community members do not really understand, and the questions are, will they really, at the end of the day, benefit? Will the youth benefit? Will the elderly benefit? Will the constituencies benefit? And I think what is most important is that together with the government, with the local authorities, hyphen must have an intent, a intentional intent to have community engagements or a community communication strategy to make sure that the relationship between hyphen the government is built in order to make sure that our people understand exactly what the benefits are going to be for them, that they have a clear understanding of what the programs are going to be, and then have a clear understanding of what is needed in terms of entrepreneurship and entities. Please create those platforms. It is very important that those platforms are created. We also, I particularly also understand that obviously hyphen has got limited boundaries. The government must have policies. The government must be intentional. The government must create development programs for the communities. But I think it is also important that hyphen, through the agreements, makes it extremely very clear that the lowest of our community members must benefit from these programs, and that there is transparency when these programs, for example, when the at higher learning or VCT, that all are included, and that not only some get benefits at the end of the day. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Doctor, are you not having a question? We are closing off. If you don't make use of this opportunity, then it's gone. All right. Those were the questions, honorable members, ladies and gentlemen. I'll give them the last opportunity to Master Shipepe to just respond on those ones, and then we move on with the presentation from Luderitz Town Council.
Thank you, Madam Director. Thank you again for the questions. I think the first one with regards to the lifespan of the project. So we have a 40-year concession period. So that means the feasibility and implementation agreement allows us to operate for 40 years. So we will try to optimize that period. So obviously the windmills, the solar panels have a certain lifespan, about 20, 25 years. So within the 40 years, we'll make sure to upgrade, maintain those infrastructures for us to be able to execute the full lifespan of the project. And then what will happen to the environment once the project is done? Of course, that will be very much informed by the environmental impact assessment, of course, plus the environmental management plan. Normally, there is a rehabilitation program that one needs to undertake as part of your environmental management plan. So we'll want to make sure that we rehabilitate the area to its original state. That's normally the process and the best practice that the environmental law provides. So we will design it in such a manner that we are able to achieve that. But once the environmental impact process starts, we'll be sure to engage the different stakeholders locally, plus the various environmental stakeholders, to make sure that we understand what their needs and concerns are, and so that we can design that, or at least include that in the design of the project. Have discussions happened with institutions of higher learning and VTCs? We are starting to engage different stakeholders. That includes the VTCs, the TVETs, NTAs, and other institutions of higher learning. As you might know, government has in their strategy outlined that there needs to be, for example, a national skills development committee where all of these stakeholders need to sit together to understand what would be some of the demands that comes from projects like Hyphen or the green hydrogen industry, and how do you start to bring together all the stakeholders to come up with initiatives to address those issues. But as Hyphen, we have already started to lightly engage these institutions of higher learning. We are starting planning programs where we can engage NTA and other institutions to see how we can collaborate to address some of the issues or challenges that we foresee. And then there was the shortcut to Aranos. Honorable Lau, I'm not sure if you'll be happy with that decision for us to go through Aranos and Botswana, but unfortunately, the target market is Europe and Asia, so the port of Lüderitz presents sort of the best location for us to dispatch this commodity. And then there was a question on what can Hyphen do for Daurus. Unfortunately, Hyphen is implemented in Lüderitz. That is why we are supporting the towns of Lüderitz and Aus to make sure that from a town planning and town infrastructure perspective, we help them to be ready for these particular developments that are coming. I'm sure Mr. Shipanga will address it in his speech, but one of the immediate sort of achievements that we managed to achieve together with the Lüderitz Town Council was to get some support from Ministry of Urban. You might have seen that Lüderitz Town Council was given a budget of 140 million. So we've been working together to try and advocate for a larger allocation of resources to the Lüderitz Town Council and Aus. In the past, they've been receiving, I think, 2 million per annum as part of their development budget. Now with this 140 million, they are able to at least upgrade some of the existing infrastructure and then start with the planning and expansion of the town. So unfortunately, Hyphen has to provide the support to Lüderitz and Aus, and Daurus, unfortunately, is not within, because we are not operating there, we cannot provide the required support that you may need. However, I would advise that you obviously engage Daurus Green Hydrogen Project, which is the developer that is implementing the project in Daurus, to understand how they can potentially support you. But more importantly, I think you need to engage the Ministry of Urban and Rural Development and government in general to understand how they can come on board to support you as Daurus to make sure that you are ready for that project. Because ultimately, some of the public services do lie within the framework and the mandate of government entities, and you need to start engaging them to understand how they can come on board. And then there was a question on the 30%. I think the 30% speaks to local procurement, right? We said out of the money that we're going to invest in the project, we will try to spend at least 30% of that on local entities. So companies who can provide us with different services, whether it's supplying goods, constructing, during the construction and operation period. In addition to that, we are saying we're going to provide about 15,000 jobs. And then as Hyphen, we've decided to give government 26% shares, in addition to all the other fiscal contributions that we are planning to make. So government is just not only taking, or Namibia is not only benefiting from the 30% local procurement, but government broadly, as I indicated earlier, is taking over 50% of the revenue that Hyphen will be generating, will go to government through the various other fiscal contribution. Nowhere in the world has such a fiscal regime been done on a green hydrogen project or any renewable energy project. You will normally find such regimes maybe in mining, oil and gas, but on renewable energy projects that has not been done. So we believe that this was a significant milestone and achievement for government to be able to draw such benefits from a project of this nature. So it's not the 30%, but it's 50% of the revenues, in addition to the jobs and local opportunities that will be created. And of course, how that emanated was as a result of the procurement process. So as I did indicate, government put out that RFP, and they asked different bidders to submit their proposals, and asked different criteria as far as fiscal contributions and social economic development criteria, and Hyphen provided those benefits or those proposals to government through that bidding process. And then of course we negotiated on the final numbers that you have seen in the presentation. The type of jobs that will be created for the youth, as indicated, we're at the very early stages, right? So what we're doing now is we want to do a workforce competency model. That model allows us to break down the project and understand from the pipeline to the desalination plant, to the solar plant, to the windmill, what are the different job categories that are there in the project during construction, during operation. We want to understand what kind of qualification, experience, and competencies do you need for each and every job. That will help us understand the demand. Then we'll go through a process where we'll go to each and every public stakeholder to understand what are the different skills, expertise that are available in the Namibian market. Are they able to meet the needs that we have in the project? That will include engaging youth, engaging the unemployed, engaging graduates to understand what capacities do they have. And if we have that gap analysis, we can then develop a skills development program or training development program to then understand how can we build their capacity for them to be able to meet those demands that we have. So we have not defined all the roles yet, but we are undergoing that process. And in the next few months, we will be engaging the youth and other stakeholders to provide them a bit more details on what are the opportunities that are available or coming for the project. And then there was a question on the distrust from the community. Yes, it's a valid point. I think we have started to now put in place our stakeholder mapping and engagement strategy, because we are saying we need to engage all the different national, regional, and local stakeholders for the project. That means we need to engage different communities, institutional structures, youth organizations, to understand how our project will impact them, what needs do they have, and how, as Hyphen, do we develop programs to address some of their needs. So if we are saying that we are going to create jobs in Lüderitz, Tses, Batani, or Aus, we need to engage the traditional authorities to understand how can we best advertise when there are vacancies or opportunities that are coming. What is the best way to make sure that we can get certain communities, youth, or different individuals involved in the project? So that will be part of our stakeholder engagement process, and we want to make sure that we engage all the relevant stakeholders, because we do need the social license as well to operate this particular project. And that, of course, make sure the aim of that is really to make sure that we address and make sure that we involve all the different stakeholders during this particular process, and to make sure that all of them hopefully can benefit as far as possibly allowed. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Master Shipepe. You did a very good job. You responded to all the questions, and we appreciate for the information you are released. You may take your seat. Round of applause for him, please. Next on the program, we have a presentation from the Lüderitz Town Council, which will be done by Master Jonas Mahalelo, not Maharero, Mahalelo. Round of applause for him, please.
Oh, let me just make sure I know how to operate this. Okay. Director of Proceedings, Honorable Political Leadership and fellow technocrats, good morning. Good morning. Yes, thank you. I must say that I applaud your energy. It has been a long week program, and you still have the energy, and thank you. Okay, Director of Proceedings, first allow me to stand on the protocols that has already been established throughout the week. And I know our program reads that the presentation was supposed to be conducted by Mr. Otto Shipanga, who's a common figure within the ALAN or local authority establishment. And most of you were probably wondering, how did Mr. Shipanga become this young? Is it probably the oil and gas money? Mr. Shipanga had a family emergency, and he requested me to do his presentation on his behalf, and I hope I'll do justice to it. Okay, I am Jonas Mahalelo, a Lüderitz Town Council employee. I serve in the capacity of Control Officer Properties at the Lüderitz Town Council. So today's presentation, we will just look at what Lüderitz can offer to potential investors and to potential partnerships that will unlock local economic development to our residents of all or any other local authorities. Okay, literally Lüderitz has an open door policy when it comes to partnerships that will enhance the social the social and economic situation of our people. And thus, Lüderitz is very fortunate to be one of the economic zones that are going to be established by government to be a catalyst to the realization of the national development plans of the country. Okay, Lüderitz is also fortunate to be at the forefront for the implementation or accelerate the realization of the Southern Development Corridor Initiative. And thus, partnerships with other local authorities is paramount to the realization of those plans. Okay, just an overview of the presentation. The presentation will basically look at an overview of Lüderitz. We'll look at some of the challenges which we mostly regard as opportunities, and then we'll look at actual opportunities and an overview of the expected developments that are earmarked to take place within Lüderitz, and just a brief takeaway. Okay, in terms of extent, Lüderitz is roughly, let's say, 11,000 hectares. Mainly, as you are aware, on the west we are bordered by the Atlantic Ocean, and then on the east, the Tauhab National Park, and then the mining license areas, which restricts us from further expansion, urban expansion, yes. Okay, our population was announced by our National Statistics Agency is roughly 17,000. However, as a council, we foresee it to be more than that. So, as Lüderitz, we have a diverse economic sector, which ranges from mining, tourism, which will be enhanced by one of the largest, Africa's largest maritime museum, which is hosted in this building. And then the other sectors that we have an opportunity to, because of our harbor and the railway infrastructure, for us also we are into logistics and transportation, and then because of the Atlantic Ocean, we play a major role within Namibia's industrial sector. Okay, there are envisaged projects such as the steel beneficiation that is coming to Lüderitz, the gas, or as we all know, the Kudu gas, that is also a Kudu gas plant that will be established in Lüderitz also, and then we look at the renewable energy such as the green hydrogen project. Okay, and then we also are very lucky, if I might say, that we're in a position to have various modes of transport, which will ranges from air, road, and sea. Okay, and further, our harbor presents an opportunity for us to open up an opportunity for the landlocked, not only towns of Namibia, but the rest of the SADC region to the international market. Okay, what are the opportunities that we have within Lüderitz? Okay, the need for the establishment of new townships, mainly this is this comes about as we are all aware that there are various developments that are envisaged for Lüderitz, and with those in developments we will have a huge influx of population, either job seekers or developers that tends to benefit secondary to those developments. And then also, our railway infrastructure positions us to be able to benefit from the industry within the Northern Cape, as we know that our neighbors have their own challenges. However, our efficiency within our transport infrastructure, and then also the harbor gives us that opportunity. And then, as we are all aware, the green hydrogen energy project, which is currently in its feasibility studies, as we have heard, and then also the oil and gas exploration, which is ongoing. And then further, there's an opportunity for bulk oil storage. Let's say all of these oil developments is realized to its full potential. And then we also look at logistic support services, not only for the oil and gas industry, but for other supplementary industries that are coming to town. So there's also opportunities to establish other amenities such as hospitals, shopping malls, schools, and hotels. And furthering our opportunities, there's the one that probably you can attest for is hospitality. There's a great opportunity for hospitality establishments, of which council has complemented by allocating about 5 various different developers for the establishment of hotels. Okay, with the envisaged population that will come to Lüderitz, there will be, this population might be our working force, but that working force will come with family that will require spaces for entertainment and amusement parks. Okay, the expected developments now. As rightfully presented, the green hydrogen project, which will attract about 15,000 jobs, that's during construction, and then 3,000 jobs during permanent. But as we are well aware, this is one of 5 similar projects that are envisaged to be within the vicinity of Lüderitz. Okay, then we have the ongoing oil and gas exploration, which also has good economic effect on the town. We must allude to that. And then we also have the envisaged steel manganese beneficiation or steel beneficiation plan that are interested also on establishing in Lüderitz to add value to the current manganese being exported to the international market. Okay, council has further also allocated land to a salmon factory developer who intends on bringing salmon offshore and then processing it further. Okay, and then as presented, I think 2 days ago by Mr. Sissel, is the development of the new deep seawater port that will support also the green hydrogen project and further support or opening the international market to our landlocked partners. Okay, then there's a great opportunity for property development in terms of housing. Our current housing backlog stands at 6,000, but with the envisaged influx of job seekers and also developers, that will go up. Okay, and then there's a huge need for the establishment of medical facilities, and as I've previously alluded to, that council has made provision or provided land for the establishment of such facilities, and there's a great opportunity also for warehousing. For example, most of the guys that are doing the oil, or companies doing the oil exploration, require space where they can house their equipment that supports them within their drilling activities. Okay, council have received numerous applications when it comes to the establishment of truck ports, which is an effect of the efficient harbor where goods are being exported through. And then also, there's also with the algae eruption that are usually in Walvis Bay, we have foreseen a great or tremendous amount of oyster breeders moving from Walvis to Lüderitz, and council has made provision for an aquaculture zone to host those developments. Okay. And then just a little bit of a takeaway from the presentation. We as Lüderitz Town Council are requesting for all potential developers to make Lüderitz as their destination or investment destination of choice, and ask our local authorities, brothers and sisters, for us to partner to ensure that we unlock the economic potential of our towns for our residents. Okay, taking cognizance that you all have to travel, thank you.
Thank you so much, Master Mahalelo, for the presentation. You were actually overspeeding. If it was in terms of driving, you were driving at 160, my brother. But you did well. Thank you so much. Any comment? Doctor?
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Marero, you are a young person, so we are not going to be light on you as a young person. Firstly, I think these are serious people here. And when you present, the statistics says that national statistics release that Lüderitz population is about 17,000, and you say we as town council don't agree. Meaning you went to do a calculation, or you have alternative data. you are in a position to tell us exactly how many people are here and through what methodology. So we have to take each other very seriously. When you, I mean, if you guys, town council, how many are you? Are 10 or 15? You don't agree with national statistics? When did you do your survey? And what is also, so you can have views that you say we, you know, you could maybe say in the hospital the other day, 30 kids were born every day in Lutris, you see. You could say that in our township, in our payroll system, in our rate and taxes, you see, we are very serious people. So we take it, and you will understand now why am I problematizing that. So the population is now estimated to be about 17,000. But Hyphen project is to create 15,000 jobs. What does it mean? It basically means that the population of Lutris doubles immediately. I'm not talking about the other 3,000 jobs later. Just this, the one that we're talking about here. And that makes me wonder, maybe it's an opportune time for us to warn Lutris. Because you see what happens in December, in Windhoek, for instance. It becomes empty. Why? Because with the passage of time, the local identity, because remember our Indaba here is on local economic development. The local identity is lost. And maybe people in Lutris will not say this. It's a chairperson. Maybe it will be difficult for you to say it, but us as outsiders, we can say it. How do you then explain a millionaire who's in Windhoek or Wavesbaai, who's born in Lutris and they call themselves Bochter on social media, but they don't have a house here? They come here and sleep on their mother's houses. And maybe it's difficult for you guys who are in Lutris to speak about it, but that's what you will then risk becoming Windhoek. 13,000 people come here, they will make this their home. There's nothing wrong. It's a unitary state. There's freedom of movement everywhere. But what do you lose? You lose history. You lose that. I mean, I'll come here from Amarala and then I'll establish my house there. And you will know, oh, we used to play around there. And then I say, oh, okay, see you as you pass by my house. But it would have been different if you were the one in that house explaining to the visitors alike. So the town council, instead of saying whether you agree, you don't agree with the statistics, when you don't provide any evidence to the contrary, you're actually supposed to, what do we then do? It basically means that the dynamics of Lutris will change. What is it that is also going to change? This Bochter term is just something that you are going to be talking about history in your WhatsApp groups. It will have no meaning at all. Yeah? So you need to deal with this specific question. In other towns, what do they do? Schools have this reunion. Why do they have a reunion? It's not that other kids cannot come to that school. You are a program director now. So the other schools, okay. When schools have reunion, it's because you say, I studied at that school, I am attached to that school, I have an emotional connection to that school. But perhaps the town council is something that you need to consider and say, but this guy went to Diaz Primary School, Angra Peguena Primary School, he's now a CEO. Okay? So you have an opportunity for an emotional appeal, yeah, to be able to also indicate what is it that you, it's something that I'm just throwing that you need to seriously think about, because if the town, the identity of the town changes, it changes everything. Those 15,000 people come here, they are definitely going to come from my village, and they will be here, and they will be booked at square times 2. With a completely new, different identity. They don't know how to speak Afrikaans. So that's something that you need to think about. And if you think about it, then at least maybe you might have a solution because you are from here. Lastly, I'm not sure whether you have a structure plan, a spatial development framework of Lutris to be able to look at it strategically, what is basically happening. Because I thought, when I was sitting listening to the opportunity, I thought, okay, you explain the sea and you explain the park. I thought the government now in the budget have given additional funds to Lutris and ours. So it's outside local authority, or what's the direction, what's the future there? Is in the position to be able to say, from a perspective of a structural development framework, to say maybe we need to swallow that. Then it will be an interesting town that has land on this side and a park inside it and another component that is also there. But you can only do that when you have an SDF that assist and provide you with that specific framework, so that you elevate the discussion. Because it can't be that the plans of Luther's waterfront is what the town council presents, you see. You can't be saying, no, we have given land to who, and what if those guys don't develop what you think they are going to develop? What is your plan as a town council? What direction are you, from a strategic level? You see, for instance, that's why in the presentation it says, and you are saying to us, there's an opportunity for a railway linkage to the rest of Namibia. What does that even mean? Does it mean that there is no railway linkages to the rest of Namibia? I thought maybe it's a typo or it's a small little mistake. But those things are very costly. You don't do that. I guess, I'm not sure whether we have a cooperation. We should have a cooperation agreement. We succeeded with our SDF. Our officials are here. Maybe you can start having those conversations. How can Windhoek, Wavesby, and other local authority can help? So you elevate the discussion so that you already start planning 20 years ago. We were told by Mr. Flaxman that government decided that we must do the railway must be rehabilitated from the one that goes to Lutherits. It was decided long time ago, but you are telling us that there's an opportunity to establish a railway line to link to the rest of Namibia. Yeah? So think about some of these specific questions, and from a strategic level, then we are good to go.
Okay. Okay, Master Mutonga, before you continue, do we have any other comments or questions? Any other? Okay, so it's Master Mutonga, and then we come to Master Samuels down here.
Thank you. Mine is a quick one. I don't know, maybe I was sleeping. I did not see where Rudra is in terms of new developments, where they are going to accommodate this 15,000. I know it's, you are saying 17,000, and then probably 15,000. Of that 15,000, 10,000 people might flock in. And I understand there's a limited space here, so I do not know where are you going to expand, just to see that you'll be able to actually accommodate this number of people that are going to actually come in.
Okay, thank you. Then we have the last one from Master Samuels down here. Oh, okay. Master Samuels will be the last. Let's have Me Nipondoka. No, give the lady there. Tate, the lady there first. Then he can end.
Thank you very much. For me, it's just a little bit of a question, although some of it has been coming out from the previous commentators who commented on the presentation. Because for me, I just also wanted to really see how is Rudderits prepared for this wide horizon, gleaming with gold. How are we prepared? Because these initiatives were already been alluded to since last year or the other year, but what have we done to prepare ourselves? It's also then, if you are saying that you're also not even sure of your population, how about the economic structure in the locality? Are we aware of what industries are in here, or which sectors can we again bring in to support the opportunities that are presented before us? I just want to understand really how are we preparing ourselves to seize this opportunity.
Okay, Master Samuels, do you want to respond to some of the questions and help the colleague, or you want to ask questions? Oh, okay.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to thank the presenter for enlightening the audience regarding local authority of Luderitz preparedness. I think my question is, it's a public knowledge.
May you please stand, sir?
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
for capturing purposes.
Thank you, MC. So it's a public knowledge that in a town like Luderitz, where we operate as a state-owned enterprise, when we build phase 1, that's on the other side, we engage the council, of course, what is to come, so that we plan together. We were told that the council has no money to build roads, mini-sub, services. But we build them. We hand them over to the council. I explained, I think yesterday, outside here of this building, that paved roads, including mini-sub, it costs us 8 million to build. In the coming months, we will of course build the hospital, private hospital, together with private entities. I just want to know whether council now has money for the continuation of Dias Road, because it's a tourism economic road connecting to the Nest Hotel. Or should we again fork out money, because we're not responsible for roads and services? So basically the question is, the money that central government has committed for services of house and Luderitz, is it only for the expansion, not for existing one? Because we need to have clarity. But of course we'll still come to council to engage about the bigger picture and so on, and we will run with speed. So I think it's just that clarity. And yeah, the last one, I think any local authority should have what I call an investment policy, investment plan, and also incentives that you can give to your investors. Thus, the Town Council of Luderitz has investment incentives that they offer to attract and retain investors. So thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. When I asked for people to raise their hands, you did not, and I said we are going to end here. I hope you are not going to repeat what has been said, sir. I'm talking to you, gentlemen. The one with your hand up.
Yes, thank you once more again. Director of Proceedings, I want to understand if you have ever been a teacher in your life. Because you will understand that sometimes we ask questions based on what others have asked. Then
Can you just continue with your question before I really cut you out?
No, I want you
Whether I was a teacher or not, that has nothing to do with these proceedings.
Then you should
Please.
allow us to speak. Because
I
we
am
don't think
directing
the
the
same.
program for your information.
Okay.
There should be control.
Okay. My question is based on the economic development that we are talking about here. As Dr. Job has mentioned that we are expecting a lot of people to come to Luderitz. I've been in Luderitz for these days, and I could see that there is no good service in terms of shops. And when I did the research, I heard that there are allegations that there are some business people, those who are owning shops here, that has maybe get into agreement with the Town Council of Luderitz not to allow any other retailer shop to come here. That's why even the metro shop it went until to the court so that it can be established there. So is it true that the Town Council is in agreement with some retail shops that are capturing the opportunity for others not to come here? Or is it not? If it's not, I rest my case. If it's true, what is Luderitz doing to ensure that these people that are coming to the town for this development, they are also being included in terms of getting that service that they want? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Honorable members, daar moet orde wees, nee? And I'm trying my level best to accommodate everybody, but we should also be time conscious. We cannot be here repeating things, and when we are asked politely, just respond as such. Thank you so much. Master Malelo, you have all the questions. Please respond. Evidence-based, eh? You said you are not 17,000. Yes. Okay.
Thank you for the questions. Okay, I'll start with Doctor's question in terms of why don't we agree with the 17,000 statistics as our total population. Prior to the census being carried out as council, since we have suffered from this experience previously with the 2011 census, we advised the statistics agency on the period when to carry out the census. Okay? The census usually were carried out from September to somewhere in October, where Lutherans usually have its least population. We are a fishing town, and during September to the end of October, we have what we call a shutdown, where the majority of our population, since they are from outside of town, move to their localities. And then to substantiate to further why we are saying that, as Lutherans Town Council over the years, we have, let's say since 2020, in 2021, we conducted a survey within our informal settlements only. In our informal settlements at the time we had about 3,000 structures, combined 3,000 structures with an average of 3 persons per structure. Okay? And then in terms of taking doctor's advice, in terms of our rates and taxes accounts, we have over 4,000 rates and taxes accounts. Okay, if you consider those two with the average, that the statistics is saying that per residential structure or per household, there's an average of 4.3 persons. So that brings about the population of Lutherans quite above the 17,000 that has been officially announced. And further, as Lutherans Town Council, the actions that we envisage to take is that the Lutherans Town Council has an outdated economic baseline study, which we're intending on revising and conducting in the coming months, which will well inform us in terms of our population dynamics. Okay. Further, doctor asked about the structure plan. Okay. As Lutherans Town Council, as far back as 2015, we had developed a structure or a spatial plan in terms of where we want to have what land use and what supplementary land use that will be around that land, around that development. Okay, the structure plan was planned in 2015, and it will have run from 2015 to 2045. As Lutherans Town Council, over the years, there have been various developments that are envisaged to come to Lutherans at 2015 that the council was not aware of. And thus, we are intending on revising our structure plan, and not only our structure plan, also our strategic plan. Okay, I believe I have touched on a few of Doctor's concerns. And then the next questions were, where will Lutherans host these new developments with the limited land that we have, since we are interlocked by we are bordered by the Atlantic Ocean and the National Park on the other hand. Okay, as Lutherans Town Council, we have 2 strategies that we intend on implementing to accommodate all of these envisaged developments. Okay, mainly within the existing townlands, we have embarked on the development of an infill and densification strategy, which will allow us to maximize the existing land that we have. For example, now our town planning or zoning schemes only allows for you to build up to a certain height. So the idea with the densification is to give additional rights to property owners to be able to put up, for example, in Lutherans, we are only allowed to have 1 granny flat. So we are allowing the property owners, with the revision of our zoning scheme, to put up two or more granny flats for those that the space allows. With the infill, we do have pockets in Lutherans itself which are unplanned, that only forms part of our town planning or forms part of our townlands. So the idea is that we create new townships within those areas where we can host both, which is our current high demand for residential and industrial properties. I hope I did justice to your question. Okay, and then the next one. How is Lüderitz prepared for the developments that are coming, if I understood it correctly? Okay, as Lüderitz Town Council, with our partners, which is Hyphen and the national government, we've embarked on a town transformation program that intends on readying Lüderitz for what's coming. Okay, within that town transformation, we will carry out what we call a strategic plan for Lüderitz and Aus, which will outline how we can include these developments. And as Lüderitz Town Council, we're further expanding our town boundaries to accommodate these developments that are coming, as we have limited land. And with the stats that we are currently getting from the various developers, we are cognizant that we won't be able to accommodate them within our existing townlands, and then we have to go out. Okay, Mr. Samuel's question was more on the infrastructure. Council has a responsibility of providing various infrastructure and also doing the upkeep of those infrastructures. We are well aware that with the limited funding that local authorities receive from national government, and with the various priorities or various needs that our local residents have, council usually have to prioritize the limited funds that they are getting, and those priorities of council at times might not be in line with different developers. And just to answer on the budget allocation of that was made to Lüderitz Town Council and Aus, Lüderitz was allocated a budget of 92 million. Okay, the money that was allocated, the budget that was allocated, is earmarked for the town transformation program, and then also to upgrade our existing infrastructure. But however, you are welcome for us to engage, to further engage as to how we can collaborate and also provide the required infrastructure. Okay, and then the last one. Lüderitz has a lack of shops, and I'm not sure, he did, what's your name, sir? Yes. The gentleman did not provide me with a case number or something of that sort which allowed Metro to be established. But however, I can assure you, within Lüderitz, within the jurisdiction of Lüderitz, we are operating a free and open economy. Okay? There's no such things as council signing contracts with different developers that do not allow other development. So we invite and allow all those that want to set up shops or other amenities, and should always know that there's a free and open economy within Lüderitz. I hope I answered. Oh, okay. Okay. So it was asked, does Lüderitz Town Council have an investment policy and incentives? Okay. Currently, the Lüderitz Town Council does not have an investment policy. But however, there are efforts aimed at attracting developers to come to Lüderitz. For example, for every development you need land. The Lüderitz Town Council has extended the payment of that land from paying on cash upon the signing of deed of sale, for example, to paying it over a period of 5 years, giving the developer room to first develop and then also over the time pay. That's just one example of such initiatives that council have put in place. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Master Malego, for the yes, he did justice to the questions. Thank you so much. Honorable members, ladies and gentlemen, we are drawing now closer to the end of the program. Now the following activities are still to be done. We are going to have briefly the Indaba declarations that will be done by my co-director, Mr. Aresep, which will then be followed by the closing ceremony statement that will be done by Honorable Naimi Amthenu on behalf of the island president. And then we are going to have the closing remarks by His Worship the Mayor of Luderitz Town. So those are the only activities that are left. And then we are going to have the lunch packs, not lunch seated, lunch packs, and all these packs will be collected down from the restaurant. So nobody should go up today, everybody should just go down and collect his or her lunch pack. So ladies and gentlemen, those are the things that we are going to do. And now let's welcome Master Aresep to give us the declarations.
Thank you so much, and good morning. Good morning, Tia Kegumi. Oh, okay. It is a humble honor for me to have the opportunity to present the Alan Elite Indaba Declaration and Communique. I'm not sure whether you can see there. I think it's a bit faint, but if we listen carefully, we might be able to pick up. So Your Worship the Mayors, Honorable Councillors, fellow municipal professionals and stakeholders, let me present to you the declaration as the resolution committee has agreed upon. Over 400 delegates from 46 local authorities, political and administrative leadership, local government associations, civil society, development partners, and local government actors from South Africa, Botswana, and the Commonwealth Local Government Forum, and UCLJ SARO. This led LED Indaba communique and declaration is an indication of our unwavering commitment to inspire and advocate for innovation in local economic development, ensure that our cities and towns in Namibia are properly capacitated, empowered, and recognized as catalysts of local economic growth and employment creation. We hereby acknowledge the critical role of local governance in fostering sustainable economic growth and development through collaborative discussions, expert presentations, and shared experiences. We gained valuable insights into the challenges and opportunities within our regions. Therefore, we, the participants at the LED Indaba, reaffirmed our commitment to the social and economic development of all the people in our localities through a robust local economic development, through inclusive strategic planning and innovation. The English there needs to be improved a bit. Recognize the collaborative partnership by the Ministry of Urban and Rural Development and ALAN with the CLGF, which seeks to improve the capacity of local government to plan and implement LED in Namibia. This includes enhancing the enabling policy environment by reviewing the regional and local economic development. Welcome the opportunity created by the Alan LED Indaba that provided a unique opportunity to bring together stakeholders in the local economic development for fruitful discussions on the challenges, solutions, and opportunities to improve the well-being of our communities and localities through local economic development. Emphasize the vital role of leadership within local authorities as the governments of proximity to ensure effective local economic development, further recognizing the Cardiff Consensus on local economic development in the Commonwealth and the Kigali Declaration on building local resilience across the Commonwealth, which emphasize the role of local authorities in providing safe, sustainable, inclusive livelihoods within the context of resilient, diversified local economies. Noted the significant youth population in Namibia as the recently released preliminary results of the 2023 Housing and Population Census by the Namibia Statistics Agency show that 71.1% of the people are under the age of 35 years old, and the unique challenges faced by young people in getting employment and entrepreneurial opportunities. Further welcome the inputs and expert contributions and recommendations by various presenters at the LED Indaba, acknowledged the importance of ensuring that women, youth, and people with disabilities have access to local economic opportunities, and the need to provide platforms for further networking to ensure that women, youth, and people with disabilities are fully involved in the economic and political decision-making, and welcoming the role of REFELA UCLGA, the network of local women elected in Africa, and the Commonwealth Women in Local Government Network. Recognized the key role of subnational government in preparing and coordinating local development strategies that promote economic opportunities and contribute to the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals Agenda 2030 and the New Urban Agenda. Mindful of the common challenges facing the sector, especially following the COVID-19 pandemic, growing inequalities, the urbanization of poverty, and aware of the need to ensure that local economic development strategies are locally owned and reflect local needs and circumstances. Now, therefore, we call on national, regional, and local government to the private sector, civil society, and development partners in Namibia to support and strengthen local government's role in local economic development to help reduce poverty and promote shared prosperity in Namibia. Our consensus is that local economic development is a process which brings together different stakeholders in a local area to work together and harness local resources for sustainable economic growth. And while we agree that there is no single model for LED, we concur that approaches should reflect local needs and circumstances. LED should create an enabling environment for business and other stakeholders to work to promote equitable and balanced local economic growth. Pro-poor and inclusive LED enables local government to address poverty, unemployment, and social deprivation, including through strategies for promoting youth employment, empowering disadvantaged and marginalized communities, support for skills development, and promotion of gender equity and equality. Key actions are required to enable local government to play its full role in LED, which includes strengthening governance. We call upon all municipal leaders to commit to transparent, accountable, and participatory governance that creates an enabling environment and empowers citizens and local businesses. This includes providing a clear, revised national framework for local economic development, effective fiscal, political, and legal decentralization, including appropriate constitutional and legal recognition and access to an equitable share of national resources as essential to maximize local government's effectiveness in local economic development. 2, promoting investment. We urge the creation of a more enabling environment for investment with a focus on small and medium-sized enterprises as key drivers of local economic development. Number 3, enhancing skills. We advocate for investment in education and vocational training to equip our workforce with the skills necessary for the jobs of tomorrow. Empowered local governments with meaningful autonomy and delegated powers to deliver LED can actively promote and sustain inclusive, locally owned economic development. 4, sustainable practices. We encourage the adoption of sustainable urban agriculture principles to integrate sustainable food security practices within our communities, particularly in poultry, piggery, and gardening. Inclusive development. We emphasize the need for gender mainstreaming and the inclusion of marginalized groups in all economic development initiatives. Number 6, leveraging technology. We recommend harnessing technology and innovation to improve municipal services and foster a culture of entrepreneurship. Number 7, regional and international collaboration. We propose establishing partnerships between municipalities to share best practices and resources for mutual benefit. And then we come, in conclusion, to the next steps. Achieving effective LED in Namibia would require actions from a range of different stakeholders, including the Ministry of Urban and Rural Development, to finalize the review of the National LED Policy Framework, an implementation plan, and ensure decentralization of appropriate powers, functions, and resources, including financial resources, empowering local government to play a leading role in LED. The Local Economic Development Agency, led in the Ministry of Urban and Rural Development, will continue to play a key facilitation and coordination role in this process and in assessing and monitoring the impact of LED. Local authorities in Namibia should start immediately to plan, develop, and implement LED strategies in partnership with the private sector and other stakeholders at the local level to promote LED. They should develop a strong alliance with the private sector to ensure that LED promotion and actions are well grounded. Organized local and regional government associations like Alan, Nalao, and ARC should continue to play a key role in advocating for local government involvement in LED, operationalizing national frameworks, and assessing impact. They are important partners in sharing good practice, capacity development, and identifying and leveraging resources for LED. CLGF to continue to advocate for LED to be a key responsibility for local government in Namibia and across the Commonwealth among CLGF local government and Ministry of Local Government members. CLGF also to advocate for LED within the wider Commonwealth to generate better understanding and support for local government's role in LED in line with the Cardiff consensus on LED. Alan should also continue to work in partnerships with organizations like the CLGF to share good practice and knowledge around LED, including through the Commonwealth Sustainable Cities Network, and promote a greater focus on practical LED research, mentoring and exchange of best practice, and work to strengthen capacity building and investment for LED through partnerships with national agencies such as the NIPDB and international development partners such as the European Union, GIZ, and the Commonwealth Secretariat. Development partners and other stakeholders should be sensitized to provide resources, support, and expertise to improve capacity and enable local governments to deliver effective LED. We pledge to take these actions forward, working in unity for the prosperity of our communities and nation at large. Thus signed on the 15th day of March 2024 in Lutretz by Honorable Dr. Samuel Amsep, President of Alan. So I submit.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Master Aresep, for the declarations on behalf of the President. A quick announcement. Anybody has picked up car keys? Somebody lost his car keys. If anybody has found them, please bring them to me if possible. Otherwise, the colleague will be stranded. Okay. We are going to have then the statement, the closing statement, that is going to be done by Honorable Naomi Amthenu, who is also a board member. Please let us welcome her to this podium.
Our very capable director of the program, allow me to lead the statement from the President of Alan as prepared. Did I say good morning? Good morning to all of us. It is with all humbleness and humility to deliver this statement at the occasion of closing of the successful first ever Alan Indaba. I want to thank all members of Alan Board and Alan staff to support and trust in the Secretariat to run the logistic of the Indaba and the Rudels Town Council, partners, stakeholders, international guests, and our sponsors for moral and the financial support. I should also include the NAMPOL. The local authorities are faced with challenges of deficiencies of revenue to address to implement local economic development strategies and to meet daily operational requirements worldwide. In Namibia, our municipalities faced multiple of challenges such as rapid urbanization, poverty, inequality, unemployment, and the huge infrastructure needs. Although these are not unique to local authorities, the magnitude of the challenges in municipalities is greater and is increasingly becoming a major risk to the socio-economic development of the country. The ability of municipalities to deal with these challenges depends to a large extent on their ability to generate more of their own revenues. It was therefore critical to Alan hosted this Indaba to leverage non-traditional revenue sources and other innovative financing mechanisms, and the revenues are heavily constrained. Despite being hubs of economic activities and engines of growth, local authorities have not been able to significantly leverage non-traditional revenue streams. The local authority will face increased pressure in incoming years as towns are faced with higher unemployment, increased cost of services. I'm sorry, I should repeat this statement. The local authorities will face increased pressure in incoming years as towns are faced with higher unemployment and increased costs of services that way. It is with this in mind that Alan leadership have undertaken a very important activities to position Alan for the future, to empower and support its membership. These are but not limited. 1, holding of the first ever standard housing and service land seminar, February 2022 in Wolfish Bay. 2, launching of Alan Development Fund under the motto towards enabling sustainable development for all local authorities. It was February 2024. Thirdly, launched an Alan Blueprint strategy on accelerating land and standard housing delivery in Namibia. This took place in April 2023 in Tsumeb, under the motto, if it's done, it will happen. Honorable board members, honorable members, I personally believe that we have various opportunities if we are united, organized, and focus on our mandates. As the body closer to the government, to the people, the demand for the services is higher. This needs concerted efforts from all of us to improve our services, our service delivery, and to improve financial abilities. Therefore, we must, as politicians, always carefully study and apply collective measures to avoid destructive tendencies to destabilize the affairs of the council. As we all are aware, development can only take place in a friendly and a conducive working environment. In my own words, I'm saying, from here, when we get down to our council chambers, we must let all the deliberation to go in a friendly environment. We should not see who say what, but we should listen to what is being said. I wish you all a safe journey home on behalf of Alan Board and the staff. May God bless Namibia, may God bless Africa, May God bless all of us, and I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Amfenu. Another round of applause for the good closing statements. Honorable members, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our program with only one item left. That is the closing remarks by His Worship, the Mayor of Lutherets. From my side and my co-director, thank you so much for your patience and your indulgence for the way we did or the way we directed the program. It is not an easy task. I'm sure many of you might not even survive one day. So thank you so much for really coping up with us. We have tried our best, and where we have done wrong, please forgive us. That was not the aim. Thank you, Pastor, for saying that. It has been 4 days that we have been discussing issues pertaining to our local economic development aspects. I'm sure that many of us have learned something from the exercise. We are able to go back to our localities and really emulate in terms of good practices. Platforms are created for us to network, and it's always ideal if we do that and really improve the livelihoods of our people during or through our efforts. Most importantly, what came out, we need to create an enabling environment. We should have good infrastructure in place for us to be able to attract investors and investment. If we do not have that, it will be difficult for us in our towns to really attract investors. Many of us, I believe, also do not have the investment policies, investment incentive policies. And this is very, very critical and very ideal for us to have in terms of what we can offer. How do we meet the investors halfway? Not only should we want to get money in terms of, if the land's value, for example, is a 10 million, let's have some sort of incentives to say, if we can get half of the price, looking at the infrastructure that will be implemented and the jobs that will be created. So let us think out of the box and not do things the way we've been doing it. Henceforth, we need to intensify our strategies and, most importantly, to diversify our revenue streams. Having said that, honorable members, ladies and gentlemen, I would like us to welcome His Worship the Mayor to do the closing remarks for us. Thank you.
Good morning. Here I go again with another speech. Those of you who've met me and had the opportunity to chat with me this week should know that I like talking, but I am not a big fan of public speaking. But allow me to stand by the protocol that's already been established. And I'd like to thank you for allowing me the honor and privilege to deliver these closing remarks in gratitude to our development partners and first-time visitors to Lutherets. I don't know how many of you know Honorable Francis Nkrumah. He was the first African-born Prime Minister of Ghana and a prominent Pan-African organizer whose radical vision and bold leadership helped lead Ghana into independence in 1957. Now, Honorable Francis Kwame Nkrumah said, "We neither face east or west, we face forward." With these prophetic words, I'm encouraging to note that the leadership was not distracted nor swayed by our political differences and ideologies in the execution of our mandate. In addition, no development can be meaningful once it excludes the people we serve. It is with a heart filled with patriotism and servanthood that I'm pleased to record that all deliberations were centered around what's best for our people. I think we should give ourselves a hand of applause there. The Alan Local Economic Development in Indaba is the response to the current generation of leaders to the vision of real and tangible socio-economic growth and advancement of our people and communities, casted by our founding fathers and mothers whose legacies we will emulate through our collective endeavor. As the Right Honorable Utuni said, what kind of Namibia will we leave behind for the next generation? This week, however, has given me faith that we will leave the future generation of Namibia a much better Namibia, a united nation, united by our shared national pride and our sense of duty to forge a better life and a more dignified life for every Namibian from every walk of life. As local authorities, we have traditionally relied on rates and taxes and sales of land as our source of primary income and revenue. The ever-changing dynamics and externalities we face currently require us to be innovative and radical in our creation of multiple alternative development strategies that are integrated in our implementation to ensure we reach the goals set for the industrialization of our nation and the socio-economic emancipation of our people. We as a people must remain indebted indefinitely for the shoulders of the giants that we stand on. These giants of our liberation struggle offered their lives selflessly to free the people of our nation. History will hold it against us should we fail to manage our resources, our environment, our people, our institutions sustainably. It's encouraging to note that we did not waver nor relent in our pursuit of the eradication of poverty and the assurance of our shared prosperity in the caucus mission this week. Ladies and gentlemen, the fourth industrial revolution is a new chapter in human development and for Namibia. It represents a fundamental change in the way we live, we work, we relate to one another. This revolution is more than just a technological revolution. It's a platform to create synergies, to aid the populace in the harnessing and converging of technologies in order to create an inclusive, human-centered future. It's evident that we will employ to use technologies and innovation within our operations to make access to services and an efficient and stress-free process which we can find more appealing. So, ladies and gentlemen, in closing, we are further pleased that the town of Luderitz enabled the robust and thought-provoking debate that is guaranteed to change the fortunes of those we serve. The Bucht, or Namingus, sorry, my tongue is dry. The Bucht, or Namingus, is proud to have played our very small part in these historic engagements. So please do stay a while longer, those who can, and please do come back. So I think I've also said many times this as I was making my rounds and chatting to everyone, I would like to extend an invitation to you all to attend our Luderitz Crayfish Festival, which is going to be hosted from the 29th of April until the 5th of May. We would love to have you back, and we would love to see you enjoy the best of Luderitz. So once again, thank you for having chosen Luderitz. To the Allen team, thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity, and I wish you all a wonderful journey back on your journey back home. I thank you, and as the Honorable said, may God bless you, may God bless Namibia, may God bless Africa, and wishing you a blessed day. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was the end. All honorables, invited guests, we are requested to go downstairs and collect our lunch packs. Thank you so much. Oh, sorry. Let's have the prayer from the Honorable of Ongwediva. Yes.
Glory